It's a battlefield for which you have to display your gift, right? So you have to be a warrior. You have to be able to take care of yourself. And the funny thing that I'm reminded of was before COVID hit, I had begun to go with Monifa on some of these retreats that people were having. We went to San Diego, which is where I met Stasha. Um, and it was amazing. Like the energy in in that room. And then we broke off in groups. And then you got the synergy of other people who were starting to think the way you were starting to think and, and bring forth their gifts and show the world, hey, I got this thing that I'm trying to work through, or I know it can help other people. And, everyone in that room was learning how to make that gift a business. So we were learning then how to make these gifts businesses. Um, and what COVID did was COVID removed a very powerful part of helping people bridge to the next level. And what that is other people who are ahead of you in that process. So summits like this are absolutely fantastic. Um, but we have to come together to say that, you know what, this is the fourth year we're doing this. Maybe in the fifth year, we can start getting groups together in geographical areas so we can empower each other. One of the best things I understood in sales that I took from coaching was the energy and synergy that a team has together when they're vibing together in person. There's nothing like a sales office that is jumping and pumping with excitement because of someone else's success, because someone else got it, and to be able to celebrate it. For the people who were being successful, it kept them coming back. For the people who weren't successful, more importantly, it kept them coming back because they couldn't get that energy anywhere else. And that's what we do. And when I was going to those retreats, that's what drew me in was the synergy and the energy that was created by all of these people together. And COVID has taken that away from us. I don't know how many of you guys went to those before COVID, but energy in those places was unbelievable, no matter which one you went to, because there are people who are thinking alike, who want to accomplish goals within their gifts, working together. And I think we need to get back to that for 2025. And next, our bodies. Okay, I've touched on this earlier. Whether you want to call it a vessel, an avatar, meat suit, they're temples. Okay, the temples for a higher source than we are physically. You can call it what you want to call it, but that source that we're calling a higher source is is rooted in electricity. Okay, I mentioned this the other day, but it's so vital for us to understand if we're giving something to other folks in terms of spirit, that spirit is through an electrical current that runs through our body. Okay. And in that current, it's hard to get more current in if the body isn't in a place to receive it. And a lot of us don't have the movement that we're used to, but you have to get some movement, some sunshine, some water. And, like what you said earlier, that H4O thing that really piqued my interest as well. So just so you know, each cell produces 1.4 volts of electricity. When you multiply that by 50 trillion cells, that's 70 trillion volts, or the equivalent of 70 billion lightning bolts. That's how much energy and electricity our bodies are creating. Okay. The other part about understanding that electricity, that power, that light is the stronger you're rooted in your shadow or darkness, or the mud that is going to open the lotus, the stronger you can get rooted in that darkness, the brighter the light. Think about it like this. I don't have to have much light if there's pitch blackness in the room, right? So if you think about what we're doing, we're operating as a source of light amongst folks who don't understand that the darkness in them is preventing their light from truly shining. So embracing of that darkness, and it's funny because I've been noticing it in a lot of the movies, how there's this new merging of light and darkness. You know, I'm Star Trek, not Star Trek, I'm also Star Wars from way back. So Star Wars was about this battle of light and darkness. That's the whole premise of Star Wars, you know. How are you using the Force? Are you using it for the good or are you using it for darkness? And so now Star Wars is about the merger of light and darkness to create the ultimate warrior. We can't just be light and be in battle. We have to have that merger of light and darkness. And not just the merger, but we have to embrace that darkness. It sounds crazy, but there is an embracing of darkness that we have to do. And sometimes it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't go with our Judeo-Christian backgrounds and what we've learned about light and darkness. It doesn't go with that at all. And so we are forging a new path and understanding that light and darkness make the total whole person. Um, so the last point I wanted to make was, it was funny. It's about, um, the choices that aren't really choices. They're just decisions that we have to make if we really want to walk in our gifts and walk as the embodiment of what we want to create. Um, the first thing is, like I said, we have to get our temples in order. And it's, you know, I'm probably going to do a whole presentation at some point about what that looks like. Um, we have to plan on being together, being, even if we're doing it from, you know, the Canadian people get together, the people in California get together, people in the UK get together, and then we have these groups that are involved in the voicing your vision in the summits, because that synergy is going to create a whole other energy within itself. Um, we also have to, this is not going to be popular to a lot of folks, but we have to recruit. You have to find people who are looking for you. If we're truly teachers, then we require students. And I'm not talking about the paying kind of student. I'm talking about the person that you're going to meet that needs to have this information that you can pour into them without them being, you know, a student or a paying client. That's recruiting. That's true recruiting. That's truly getting someone to understand life from your perspective. Um, the next thing is, we have to choose the harder choice. And, it's funny because to me, that's the way I look at going to the gym. Like, I would rather create that friction for myself than have the universe creates it. I don't like the way the universe creates my friction. I'm done with the universal friction. I'd like to create my own friction, create my own hard times so the universe doesn't have to do it for me. And that's what I'm learning is that the more you choose to take the harder road, the easier that second half of that trip becomes. You know, when we start out and it feels easy and it feels like, oh, I got this. And then I used to have a talk I had about splat. It's the sales call that I used to talk to my recruits about. There's a crossroad and there's an old man standing at the crossroad, very successful man. I mean, he has on $1,000 shoes, you know, the best suit you can imagine on a person. He aged beautifully like the finest wines. And a young person comes to that crossroads and sees him and says, wow, you look like you became very successful in your life. So which one of these roads leads to success? The old man says, well, that road leads to success. And he says, all right, successor, I come. And he hauls off sprinting down the road, heading for success. And then splat, there's a big giant wall. He ran right into it. He's like, oh, I think he sent me down the wrong road. Let me go back and talk to this old man. Maybe he just forgot. He's old. It was a long time when he started down there. Let me go back. It goes back to the old man and he says, hey, man, you told me success was down that road. And so I went running down that road because I want success. And then splat, there's like a big giant wall in the middle of that road. And the old man goes, oh, you ran into a wall? He's like, yeah. He's like, are you sure that's the road? The old man said, dude, that's the road. It says, okay. Starts running again down the road. It's a little farther than last time. Hey, I think he was right. And then splat. He goes, oh, this guy. You know what? I knew I shouldn't have trusted him. I knew it. So he goes running back to the old man. He goes, hey man, it's funny. You got jokes, bro. You got a lot of jokes. He said, you keep telling me that the road to success is down this wall, down this road, and all I keep running into is splat. The old man says, yeah, the road to success is just past splat, you know? And I tell that story because I don't think we understand that success is a road full of a lot of splats and a lot of things that, like we said earlier, we wouldn't write in our story, but it needs to be there to create the story. Um, and the last two things I want to talk about is we have to get back to putting seeds in the earth, right? We can take that literally or we can take that figuratively, metaphorically, however you want to do it. These seeds that are flowering in us have to be planted in other soil. Whether we're taking real seeds and putting it in the dirt and watching something grow, or we're taking these other seeds that are in us and giving them to people that we meet at a Walmart, that we meet standing in line. Those things, they're not there for no reason. Those people are by you. You have that feeling that you have to say something. You have to say it, right? And the last thing, don't be afraid to create community where you are. If you're still in the court setting, there's some people who are watching you, who are watching the way you do things, who are seeing some of the things that you're listening to on your break. That's a community. Those people are interested. Get them started with understanding the search for themselves from within. That's also vital for what we're moving into. We're moving into this new space, whether we like it or not. And if you're watching teachers on YouTube and you're watching um, old philosophies and people talk about those things, well, we're creating the new library for the people 10, 15 years from now. These stories, these beginnings of the new philosophy that we're going to move forward with as a species is important. Yeah, storytelling. I love storytelling. It's like one of my favorite things to do, and I'm pretty good at it. But that's those are the things that came to me. We need to come from under those rocks. The people that are on this call who are these heartfelt, heart-centered people, we get hurt easily. And you know, I guess sales has toughened up my skin. In the sales office, we call it having rhino skin. And for some folks, it's hard to get that. It's not easy to um, not have what someone says impact you in a negative way. But it's a process. That process is, if it's impacting you in that way, then you're in the process and you need to work on how do I get better? How do I make it? How do I make it so that every time I do feel a certain way about what someone says, who's looking at that process? And just as a quick side note, when I train someone now in sales, I train first the mind. I go directly to mindset. You don't even have to fill out an application. Going directly to your mindset. Because in the business of helping people make a decision, you can't be indecisive. You can't know who you are in terms of what you're showing up as on a daily basis. So I go right to mindset, and I go right to them understanding that the only reason you don't have what you don't have is because you're not thinking about it. There's no intention, that you were taught to put on that. So that's pretty much all I have. I appreciate your time, and I'll land the plane.
You already have a question. What did you mean by abundance mindset?
What do I mean by abundance mindset? Okay, so let's think about it like this. And when I ask the question, how much money do you want to have on a monthly basis? Okay. When I ask that question to just about everyone who hasn't had any training, it's usually just over what your bills are. And if you're working in the field of renewable energy and high ticket sales, um, it's very difficult for you who just want to get paid just above his bill level to understand how someone can spend $50,000 on a project, right? Um, well, that's what I mean by abundance mindset. And one of my favorite sayings was, you can't sell someone out of your own pocket, right? Now, what that literally means is that if you come into an organization that has these high ticket items to be sold, and you've never even sold your bicycle for more than $100, you don't see the value in someone spending $50,000 for solar, right? You don't see the value in that because in your pocket says, "Oh no, we ain't doing that." And so if your pocket is saying we're not doing that, then your energy is telling the person who wants to do that, don't do it with me. I have no recollection of what you're doing right now. I can't relate. And so that's what I mean by an abundance mindset. It doesn't mean um, that you don't have the capacity to know what wealth is and to know what those things are. It's just that your mindset is based on only what you can see.
Cool. Ooh, see my. Oh, what happened? That was weird. Beautiful. So many good points. Again, I feel like I have to hear things more than once to like let everything seep in, even for my own husband. Weirdly enough. Um, but I think she was also talking about when you mentioned mindset, like how you like what's that first thing, and actually that first thing he talks about is basically helping them see themselves because usually these are people that aren't seeing why they aren't getting other jobs and aren't seeing why aren't they motivated to complete tasks the way people are keep asking them to, and so it a lot of times it's just that mindset of listen, you are you, like can you love yourself, um, is usually the first thing that comes up, at least that I've seen when I was working with him in the office. Um, and then I know he likes to do a lot of the mindset videos. He likes to share Neville Goddard and um, what are some other ones, Darrell? You're muted, my dove.
So there's Neville, and the reason I like using Neville is because you're born in America, whether you went to church or not, you have a Judeo-Christian mindset. And so, well, there's Neville, there's Bill Donahue, um, and so you have to be able to cross over to what the Bible is actually telling you to let you know that it's talking about the way you think. So Neville's whole premise is that your imagination is God. Like that is the essence of God in you. And it made a lot of sense if you look at that compared to ancient information where everything can be perfect. Everything in your mind is perfect. It's just like you're never going to write in that bad part of your story because in your mind it should be perfect. right? And so that's what I mean by that. And with some of these teachers, and I found that when Monica was going through her process, and man, I needed them because I didn't realize how much of a process that I was starting at the same time. Like the process of not having this woman in my life forever, the process of not being able to help her in her greatest time of need and to like have zero skills to help her. Like it's one thing to say, oh, I can grab you some water. But it's another thing when people of real skill are advising you as to what they believe is the right way for your wife. Like that was that hit pretty deeply, like it really humbled me in a place where it's like, okay, I gotta leave her in your hands. I don't trust your hands. You know? But it left me with no choice, and that was a process. I don't even know if I've gotten over that. It was a process to be in a position where you're as weak as anyone else in that situation. You're a guy in the street who knows nothing about cancer and how to treat it. Get the superstitions out of here, dude. Type of situation. So that was hard, man. That was really hard. And um, I guess from there, uh, I've been in a place where, okay, um, if we're gonna do this moving forward, then you know, her power is her power, and my power has to be my power, and I have to know when I'm powerless and when I am powerless in that place to rely on her power. And I would tell you, man, that girl was powerful during that situation, man. I'm like wiping tears before I walk in the room to talk to her, and she gets in there. She knows I've been crying, and she's like, "Oh, this guy." It's like I can tell she knew, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, broke, like, going in there, like, "Oh my god!" What it was terrible. I was a mess. You ever see that show where the baby's born and they're spending more time on the dad who passed out than the woman who just gave birth? Well, that was me. I'm the guy passed out on the floor, didn't even look her in the face. Like I was terrible. It's hard.
It's hard for a Darrell. Now, I think it'd be hard for anybody who's truly in love with somebody to see them go through a possible loss of their life. And yeah, and a lot of things you do because it's if it wasn't for you to do, then the other person would get that quotient of power, right? Um, and so it was a lot of baton passing during that time. One of the things that um, and you can't discern everything because you're focused on one thing, at least as the somebody who's the healer, who's in the process of healing, is is just now I am in the way of the possibility of being fully healed and whole, right? And that was my job, was to get whole. And so I couldn't focus too much on what else happening outside of what was coming through me. So I became very much like a channel for my clients, a channel for my for whatever needed to happen in the medical environment. I would have to tap in and do my sound. So when I call the Oman's vocal resonance method, literally is what I believe a lot saved my life because they didn't expect me to live. That's like a 98% chance of fatality with the liver cancer in general. And I had a 10 centimeter mass in my liver. So I had to cut off 3/4 of my liver. It's just a lot. And so even the surgeon was like, I hope that we can keep or save enough that it can grow back, which is really one of the cool parts is that the liver will grow back. um, so, so it was that prognosis and that, and, Darrell, you say that again, the difference between expertise and um, specialty. and Darrell wasn't willing to accept that expert, right, opinion, right? We decided, and we both decided, we would limit the amount of people that we let be in the field of our energy during that time, to people who could see that I was the specialist. You know, I didn't have that terminology then, but you've heard that from Lisa's conversation if you were in witness of it. So yeah, so that's what the stance we took. Well, I know you don't think I can survive because you see me as how you see me, but I know me, right? I know me, and I know that I have the potential to heal myself. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know I'm not giving up. So you can do whatever you feel like you can to help me, but I know ultimately I'm in charge of whether I'm here or not at the end. And so that's something that I had to know fully within myself, and that's what concretized my um, and you know, a lot of times we call it fight or grit or courage or all of these kind of things, but it's really just you have to decide. You know, you have to decide. Like, am I choosing to surrender like to this idea, or am I going to believe myself? Right. And so every experience in a hospital, every experience of getting blood and getting chemo and all the things, you have to make that decision. Now, actually, I'm going to believe that the stuff that they're giving me, no matter what I've heard about it, is exactly what I need to be whole eventually. Right. And whatever I'm living in this experience is exactly what I need to be wholly who I am. And wholly who I am means I'm just a representation of who I am in this experience of this illness. Then I can surrender to that, but I'm not going to surrender outside of myself, right? And that's where the commitment came in, because I realized I am here to do a massive work that is needed right now. There's no way I'm going anywhere. That's just what I decided, you know. And I think anybody who has a serious illness in some way, shape, or form has to make that decision. We talk a little bit about it with Dr. Kristen Ryman because she is a specialist in complex illness. And so I wanted her to come to talk about how we can do healthcare differently. And then she can also talk about how she also talks about how we can address when we have multiple symptoms that they have these diagnoses that don't always take care of the root causes. And so, how do we address finding the different aspects to support our bodies to heal? Because that's what they're made to do. You know, if you've heard the culmination of all the information about, what do you call it? I lost the word. Sorry, but essentially that you can alter your DNA by how you think and what you put into your body and your energy capacity, then you understand that it's not just medicine that's going to get you there. You have to have ownership of your sense of purpose. You have to have, like, all these aspects are part of what it takes to address complex illnesses. And so it does take a little self psychology and hope maybe therapy, outside psychology. It takes getting support. It takes asking for what you need. So we talked about that this morning, right? But yeah, but I think those are the things, like even when we were talking about being our own advocates for our health, and Sasha's and Katie was talking about talking to your doctor about what you need and what you're thinking about based on your lab work and your circumstances, right? That is part of planting those seeds, because we're bringing that level of consciousness and awareness of what needs to be considered to the greater public. And it's the demand that drives the economy. That is always going to be true because the economy is run by humans. So when you start demanding that your doctor know about these things, they're going to have to learn about them, right? And that's the same thing. So like if you what you buy, what you conversations you are willing to start, because a lot of people aren't willing to have these conversations. So what it takes is, yeah, courage, that willingness to decide that even if it means that it's not going to be easy, even if it means I'm going to experience conflict or uncomfortability, then I'm going to have this conversation, right? So that's why I bring some of the people that I bring, because I know they're hard, because I know they're taboo subjects. So you're questioning everything everybody ever taught you when you approach some of these conversations. Because if you aren't supposed to have sex, you sure shouldn't be talking about it and what it's giving you, right? If you're not, if you're not supposed to be talking about women's health, then you sure shouldn't be like forming your business by it, right? It takes a certain amount of courage just to speak to what's needed, right? Um, and I always say you want to restore yourself first, right? You want to have that work and that voice and that energy for you first. And that's what being ill taught me. So I was so worried about how everybody, they thought I sounded good, if I was a good singer, if they were going to hire me, if they liked me enough, right? Um, and I finally realized, you know what? I don't care. My voice is first for me. That's something that I live by. My voice is first for me, which is important to me, but maybe there's a different level of creativity that's yours, right? My writing is first for me. My training in management first for me. How do I manage my own healthcare? My ability to translate is first for me. How do I translate my own story, experience, and emotions to something that I can fill up on and be restored by? And that's the root of my work, is that the voice can be that aspect of restoration because of the power of sound and the power of vibration combined with your own DNA, combined with your own psyche, so it knows the the stories, the trauma, the experience, and the possibility of the larger self. It has access to all of that. So we can let it heal us while we're still trying to understand how. And that's what I love about my work. You don't have to know everything for it to start working, right? But you get to practice it on the way to knowing. And then as you know, you get to apply that knowingness into how you self express in all the areas of your life, right? So I don't know, I got on another soapbox. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, and that's what it also means to have powerful people with you, like Darrell, Susie. These are people that when I get around them, my energy is able to show up in a clearer way than when I'm not around them. So there are those people for you, and that happens. There's just an energetic dynamic that happens. We're puzzle pieces for each other's wholeness, right? And so you can start to build that for yourself. It's available to you too. And when you recognize what's resonating your energy, what's amplifying your vibrational wave, that's how I think of that, then you lean into that, right? You lean into that. And so, yeah, hopefully, again, I like to have all those aspects spoken about, sometimes not spoken about, maybe just implied in the stories that we're telling, so that we have all the ways to absorb the truth of what that is, and that we will just, because the underlying understanding of that is I am worthy of love. I am worthy of love. I am, and I am worthy, right? And um and so yeah, so those are the underlying aspects of all of that. So I know people, they're so heart-centered, they just go straight to love. There's like love, yes. But in order for us to understand that word fully, we have to experience it through our
So,
dimensions. Go ahead.
as Monifa knows, I've kind of been at war with the word love. I think it's like a psyop word. I think they're using it for the purpose of making you think something. I prefer the word devotion in place of love. And if you look both of those words up, I think we would all agree. Um, But yeah, I like the word devotion, but I like it when you apply it to yourself. If you knew the definition of the word devotion and then applied it to yourself, it could fill you up so that anyone who came through, it's like just like when Christ was walking and the woman said, if I just touch his cloth, I'll be healed. Well, that's his overflow. Actually, that's the part of him that's dragging on the ground. That's how full he was that his overflow was literally dragging on the ground, and all he had to do was touch that to be healed. Well, that's the same thing that's in each and every one of us to fill ourselves up. And that's what, when me and Monifa first got together, our biggest argument was her not arguing, and so I'm like, oh, you think you can play it cool? Okay, I got something for you. And so I'm a master at getting your bullshit out of my way, you know? And that was our biggest thing was like, tell me how you really feel. Because fake shit don't work here. And that was the first part of us really coming together was we're not going to be fake around each other. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Will could do that and then answer that. But for me, that was true. Like I was very much somebody who was silencing myself. I still consider that part of me ignoring my own emotions, part of what led to my illness as a whole, was suppressing what I was really thinking and feeling. And again, Darrell just intuitively kind of picked up on that not being of service to the relationship or myself, right? And I've always said Darrell's the only person to take me 1 to 60 in like a millisecond. It just like literally could just breathe and like you know, and nobody else gets that kind of side to me. Like even when I was a child, I would rather be quiet. I remember my mom like accidentally shut my finger in the car door. That hurt. Yeah, it hurt. I did not make a single sound. I was more afraid of screaming than I was of, you know, getting my finger out of the door, that outcome being needed. Um, and like if I if my mom hadn't been so aware of me, she would have just walked into the house and left me there. But she was just like, she just turned around. She was like, what's, looked at me and then she looked and she's finally saw my hand. And then she was like, why don't you say something? Right. But that's how much, how opposite my voice box kind of works. Like I go in before I go out. And and so Darrell didn't really know that about me at the time. He just wasn't going to let that continue. Right. So he would kind of constantly push me. And I would scream like so loud of how you want to know how I feel, right? Like I will tell you, and I will tell you in a way that, all of a sudden when you don't want to know how I feel, you will not be able to ignore me. And so it did drive me into this other possibility for myself. Go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I've been enjoying everything behind the scenes. I'm not feeling well, but I just wanted to draw attention for Darrell to see Deb has a question to clarify something you said. Darrell, for love, what is the word? And if Deb, you want to chime in if I didn't get that correct, but I just wanted to uplift that.
Yeah, that was great. And I think you supplied the word that I didn't hear him say. So thank you. Or
Great
maybe
job, Josephine.
that was the word, yes? Devotion.
It is devotion. So if you just take love and flip it says evolve. So I like to use evolve as opposed to love. I believe in the evolution of relationships, the evolution of friendships. It's not love, it's evolution. I don't want someone to stay the same from that moment I met them. There has to be an evolution in our relationships. That's why I think they actually took evolution and made the word love and flipped it. And then they gave
Oh,
us love. That's just me. Okay, that's what I think. And so if you looked at the word devotion, devotion is what's supposed to be in place of love. I mean, if you read her definition, there's a different aspect of devotion than there is to love.
yes. Wow. Profound. Thank you. You guys are so cool.
Thank you, Darrell.
The beauty of your relationship and how you've learned, to communicate and put all that power into and devotion and the evolution, all those things. And oh, just so great. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. I love Gene Keys so much because the way it comes at the 64 I Ching is helping you to see kind of the different facets of light and energy. And that's what develop into the archetypes and how energy is formed and how DNA creates the crazy amounts of energy in our body, right? And in that, I know that for each person, what that love quotient is, may it be a different word. They're gonna start to feel similar after a while, but devotion is what's true for Darrell. Connection is what's true for me, connection and flow. So Deb, did you want to add to that?
Oh, I wanted to say thank you to Josephine. And that was, I just missed that, saying that.
Oh,
Thank
no problem. Yeah.
You're welcome, Deb.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
Josephine is on it. Like, even when we met her and we went back to the Airbnb that night, Josephine, I spoke about you, girl. I knew you were on it. I'm like, yo, because I'm in sales, like, I knew when the next superstar was coming in the building. And Josephine is the next superstar, y'all. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
She,
honored. Thank you, Darrell, Monifa. And just for Chris is on the line too. I told him you were on.
Oh,
Um,
hey, Chris.
so he's been on with us. It's a
you
pleasure.
got one, buddy. She's,
What's up?
she's gonna take off, man. She's on her way.
Hmm. Fasten your seatbelts.
Thank you, Darrell. What an honor. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Looking forward to closing out this wonderful, wonderful summit. Monifa, thank you for this on Sunday. So I hope folks are going to rejoin us again each day. I know I'll be back and then
Yes.
kick us off for our last day. I'm excited. I'm just behind the scenes right now, y'all. I'm not well, but
No,
being in
but she
this
is
space
one
is
of our
making me
speakers.
well. Yeah, being in this space is making me well. I'm excited. I loved everything that's been shared. I love the comments. I love the folks on with us. It's just pure gratitude. And now I gotta tap into devotion. I'm feeling this self devotion is coming through a lot. I love it. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So yeah, that's what's coming up tomorrow morning is a live um, conversation with Daniel Hanneman, who is a psychic. Darrell loves him. And he talks about how using
Hi.
psychic abilities to enhance how you're reaching out and connecting to people and even in our marketing. Um, and then Renee is also, I believe, I think she's on Saturday actually, but Renee also is going to talk to us about the creative aspect of writing that brings up our legacy, like writing a book and that kind of thing. And then Josephine is going to bring it home on Sunday by a live writing workshop where she's going to give us prompts to help us get aspects of our story out and just see what develops so that we can see what that starts to look like for ourselves in real time. So that's going to be super fun. And so, yeah, we get double doses of Daniel. He'll be live and he also has a recording. So I really love the recording of his interview because we get into a little bit of the aspects of what it's like to be a spiritual entrepreneur and that you're using your gifts in business and like kind of that takes some rearranging of the mindset and psyche too because we've made that taboo, right? That to use our gifts in as a way of earning income. So yeah, it's a good conversation to have and to see how he's made peace with that. He does channelings with different archetypes. that have, and he still very much has like that Christian through line that helps him to prison out those archetypes. That I think, again, why Darrell likes to bring up Neville Goddard is because whether we know it or not, a lot of our belief patterns and what we think is okay, what we don't think is okay, are built on these old structures that aren't serving us as well anymore and are partially misinterpreted. So when we hear like an old timey voice like Neville Goddard speaking to what you have begun to find more true and across cultures, across the world, in our spirituality, it helps us to reframe and to embody something at a new level that allows us to be more of who we really are. And every time that happens, I believe we're healing our relationship with the planet itself and our ability to have a prosperous co-relationship with the planet itself. And William Donohue. Yeah. Yes. So I think that's it for today. Y'all, we have our questions in the group. So if you want to win a free seat and the live vocal alchemy course, go there. I did forget to mention that the price is going up at midnight tonight from $77 to $97 for the VYV all access package. So that again is the 2022 and 23 recordings along with these, with you get the live recordings as well. So these conversations that happen between the speakers in real time of what was going on in people's lives. We got that for the VIP members only, right? To have that as a recording forever. So yeah, and then what was that? Oh yeah, and then the $100 off of Vocal Alchemy. So if you win, you would, and you don't get the $100 off. But if you have already paid for because there's going to be a Vocal Alchemy level option as well, where you get the VIP package with that, right? So you get the VIP all access package with the Vocal Alchemy seat, and that is going to be, best deal you're going to get, because the full price happens in the new year when we're doing promotion in the new year. So that's what I wanted you to know. Go fill it out if you're interested in winning a free seat. And if you want the other part, I think I am going to leave the price overnight for those who are watching after work and that kind of stuff, because I didn't mention enough in the morning. So I'm going to give it one more night so that if y'all are curious, I'll at least click on it and see that it times out. And then I'm going to shut her down tomorrow evening.
I can say
Okay.
one thing to that really quick.
Yeah.
All right. So, I just want everyone to know that Monica's been working, and we call it me and her friends call it the cave. When she goes in the cave, like there's just no coming out. And for all of you and it's not about, oh, she wants to know, this woman literally devotes her life to the program. Because we know that this information is the information that's going to be here 20 years from now for people to study, for you to send your students to one day, because this is all foundational information for the new library that we're all creating. We're all creating a library of consciousness for these next generations. And I can say it wholeheartedly that my wife worked her ass off to create her content. So just to let you guys know that.
Aw, thanks, Darrell. Yes, I do my best to balance that, but Darrell knows that I do fall short sometimes. Again, it's just kind of how my brain works. I want to get it done. Me and Susie live that life regularly. Or like, I just gonna do one more thing. Then one more thing. That's why I do our conscious co-working together on Wednesdays, because bi-weekly, um, because otherwise we don't get up, right? So to do it consciously and healthfully, we take little sprints during our co-working, and it's always better that way. But we don't always hold ourselves to that standard, right? So yay. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will see you in the morning, 9:30, so that we can have an overview of the speakers for the day, get a little bit more background and what's in those interviews that you're going to take away with you. Oh, and then 10 o'clock a.m. for Daniel live. So he will be in the room, and we always treat him really nicely. So he'll do a couple readings for us, and he does do business readings. So he can speak directly to maybe what needs more energy for you to have your business unfold. Sounds fun, right,
Yes, I can't wait. I didn't know that.
Josephine? Fabulous. So we will see you then. We will see you tomorrow morning.
On last time, Josephine. Bully your way in, girl. I'm telling you, this
Oh,
guy,
thanks, Jenna.
when he has a word, it's for you. Trust me.
Yeah,
It's
Darrell got
powerful.
one last year.
Thank you.
If you get the
Okay.
package, you'll see it. Yeah, Jenna, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy. I know you will. If you've been here and you've enjoyed this, you're gonna love it. So yay! So I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a fabulous rest of your evening or day, depending on where you are in the world.
You too.